Forbidden Knowledge Television.
This is logged in on November 25th, 2023, Eastern Standard Time. Sensitive material has been breached and it is now in front of the public. This is very sensitive documentation and the world will be in total chaos if leaked, and it is now leaked. All of it. Not one document, all of it. Place of exploitation, Forbidden Knowledge Television. This must be stopped.
What's up? What's up? It's Billy Carson, aka Forbidden Knowledge. Welcome to the Forbidden Knowledge pop-up podcast. So thank y'all. I see people already in the live chat right now, just popping in. It's an unscheduled podcast. You know, from time to time, I just pop on when I get some good timing, when I get some great time and have a minute to speak and I got something on my mind and I want to share with everyone. Sometimes I just pop in, all right? So what's happening? I see people in the chat from all over. I see somebody from the Netherlands. I see Davis GP from the Netherlands. What's up, Trinidad and Tobago in the house? Rosalind Morris. Let me see where y'all from in the live chat. What's up, Rachel Stevens and Ann Boogerts? What's happening? Okay, Michelle Miller from Florida. Okay, Damon Clay, Ohio. Kieran Michael Allen. Where'd that one? That's moving so fast now. We got Wisconsin. We got Iowa. Danny Walker. Tara Kane. What up, Doe? Detroit. All right. Wow. T. Lafayette. Dallas, Texas. Michael Larson. Sweden. Wow. We got a lot of people. Man, it's crazy. California, New Zealand. We got an international crew tonight. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming on tonight. Make sure you guys click the like button and make sure you please share this video. We want to get the algorithm going. Tonight, I have a very special guest that's going to come on here and talk in a minute. He's an amazing individual, and I'm pretty sure you've probably heard his name by now. If you haven't, you're going to learn a lot about his knowledge. Tonight, we're going to talk about, could we be living in a fractal holographic universe? We're going to touch on that subject tonight, and we're also going to play the premiere trailer for the second annual Forbidden Conscious Awards coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about the Anunnaki docu-series that we have, as he is also one of the guests in the show. And we're going to talk about our speaking conference coming up in Miami, Florida. So without further ado, let me bring up Robert Edward Grant. Hey, what's up, Robert?
Hey, Billy.
All right, man. Good to see you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're crystal clear, man. Crystal clear. Looks good. Yes,
awesome.
Sir.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute. How's everything going in your world?
It's been busy, but it's been good.
Nice.
A lot happening in my world these days. And I know the same is true for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Forbidden Knowledge Conscious Awards.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be amazing. Amazing. I mean, last year was a great first opening, right? Proof of concept. We had 1,200 people there from all over the world. And you actually were one of the award recipients last year for TV host for Codex.
Yeah, no, it was really exciting. Hopefully I'll get nominated next year for season 2. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see, man. Right now, you're nominated now for Entrepreneur.
Oh, I knew that. Yes, I did know that. Okay. I'm looking forward to that, and thank you for that. You know, it's been an exciting journey, that's for sure. And I have my hands in so many different things right now. So it's like it's been a fun year, and you know, it kicked off right. I've traveled a lot this year, and been all over the world. But happy to talk about any and all of these things.
Great, fantastic. Now, I have a lot of new subscribers as of the last 6 months. So, for those who don't know exactly who you are, can you just give a quick bio of yourself?
Sure. My name is Robert Grant. I am a polymath and an entrepreneur. What does polymath mean? It means it's someone who has sort of rejected being put into a label of only one area. I'm a music theorist. I'm a mathematician. I'm into geometry in a major way. I'm into Egyptology and ancient knowledge, mysticism, esoterica. I also have a podcast. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded 11 companies. I've been CEO of companies from the size of, one person, and just for myself starting out, and then all the way up to almost 30,000 people. When I was at Bausch and Lomb, I've had all kinds of fun experiences in my life. And this last 10 years or so, I've really gotten more into understanding kind of the mysteries, and wanted to kind of understand who I am as well, because I think that's the ultimate reason for being here in this holographic matrix experience that we're all living.
Yeah, fantastic. So for those of you who don't know, Robert Edward Grant is also one of the board of directors here too for Forbidden Knowledge TV, which is incredible. And he wrote the foreword for my book, my new book, Fractal Holographic Universe. And I have your hard copy already sent out in the mail. It's a hard special edition cover just for you, Robert.
I'm excited. Yeah. I that was you pulled that together super fast, I have to say. Yeah. I was very impressed because I know you'd already been thinking about the concepts and written the book over probably quite a number of years, I would guess, because it's so well done. Mm-hmm. But I was honored when you asked me, and I happened to be in Scotland at the time. Yeah. You'd actually asked me quite some time ago, but then you're like, okay, I'm going on Joe Rogan. Can you write this thing like stat? And I'm like, anything for you, Billy. I was also on vacation. I was like, okay, I'm writing this thing. So I did it, and I don't even know how many pages it turned out to be, the forward, but I did spend some time. I did spend quite a bit of time thinking it through, because I wanted to make sure that, I did you the best service I could.
Oh, you sure did, man. It's about 3 pages. It's one of the best forwards I've ever had and written in any of my books. This is my 4th book out, and it actually is the actual best. Not to take anything away from the other people that gave a forward, but this forward, for what this topic is, was the most dynamic, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. And people are asking where you can get the book. You can just get it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com. I'll just drop a link in the chat right quick. And we're going to get to the topic tonight. I always kind of like to talk a little bit, let the people fill up. We got 1,062 here in the live chat right now. All right, so that's pretty cool. So let's get into it. Obviously I wrote the book, Fractal Holographic Universe, and you're right. I did take years to put this book together because it's a culmination of my knowledge and research. I did my very first 3.5-hour lecture on this topic at Contact in the Desert in 2017. And a lot of my research from 2017 is what went into the bulk of this book. And then having the pleasure of meeting with Sylvester James Gates Jr. several times. He's an incredible master in supersymmetry, supergravity, and theoretical physics, and being able to tap in some knowledge from him and many others. And just studying, the sciences and looking at peer-reviewed documents, we're kind of getting now, I think everyone's coming to not everyone, but most people are coming to the reality, at least scholars, that this matrix is this what we're living in. It seems to be holographic. And so I know you've studied this topic, and we had some great talks before. Can you give your glimpse or your idea as to what you see this energy grid that we're living in?
I think it's really interesting because I see it as a U inverse. You probably heard me say that before, and it's a matrix of mind. I think Max Planck, who was the mentor for a long time of Einstein, said there is no matter as such. We can only assume that there's a conscious mind behind everything that we're experiencing. And I think, and I'm paraphrasing on that, but I really feel strongly that the way Plato also described it in the allegory of the cave is something very similar to what we're experiencing. We have, I think, at a basic level, one of the first things we have to understand is that light and dark are just opposite conditions of the same thing. They're not, it's not like we think of darkness as the absence of light. It's not actually the absence of light. It's the absorbed condition of light's reflection. And so you might think, well, wait a minute. What about when I walk into a dark room and I turn on the light and then I don't see anything when it's totally dark? Well, actually all the molecules in the room and the atoms are resonating at certain light frequencies, and you just can't see them. They're, either too small in amplitude, or they are resonating outside of your visible spectrum and of being able to see. And what happens when we see things, we have to match the resonance inside of our eye has to match whatever it is that we're seeing. That's why birds have a different frequency of resonance that they see at, and they see whole different colors that we don't see, right? And so as a result, I think what we're experiencing in the world around us is a reflection in a way of our own consciousness. And we can't even separate and call something an objective reality because we all have a subjective reality. And I think the big issue that really has been most powerful for me is to realize that the universe is less of what we would consider to be a material, objective universe and more of what we'd consider to be a subjective and mental universe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that becomes a really powerful aspect, especially when you start thinking about other things you've been doing a lot of research on, like Hermetic wisdom. And the first principle of Hermetic wisdom and the first principle of Hermeticism is the universe is mind. All is mind and all is mental. And I think that there's some powerful truth in that. And we're also seeing this coming out of things like the most recent Nobel Prizes. You know, in 2022, the Nobel Prize that was awarded that basically showed on the cover of Scientific America magazine, local realism is false. And this year's Nobel Prize winners proved it. So this idea of a material universe being supplanted by the notion of a mental universe is definitely taking the physics world by storm. And that means you have to start rethinking literally every aspect of science.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit it on the head. We have to rethink. And what's beautiful about quantum physics and quantum mechanics, it's always cutting edge because it's obviously science, a lot of science is really theories. But when you really dig into the quantum physics, it begins to really explain what's going on spiritually. And as I look deeper into holograms, I noticed that what you can see in the smallest part is the whole. The whole is always in the smallest part. And that light doesn't move the way that we think light moves through the universe. Because when we zoom in as far as we can go into matter, it becomes pixelated. So I think that we're living in a frame by frame network. This matrix is frame by frame. And so that light is moving at a particular frequency, and then it's re-energizing, or it's bouncing another frequency to another pixel over and over again as it moves through this matrix.
It's a reflection,
you know. Like
oh, absolutely. And this is, you're really touching on the work of Walter Russell and Marconi and Nikola Tesla as well. And basically what Walter Russell says is that, we have these cubic sort of divisions of space-time. And these cubic divisions of space-time operate very similarly to an LED on an LED screen, like the one you're looking at right now, right? And the one I'm looking at as well. So I started thinking about this a long time ago, which is, okay, if I'm playing Pong on my screen here, is the photon of light actually traveling? Right? Does a photon actually travel? And it was really Walter Russell, who was the first one that I had learned about, that said, no, it doesn't actually travel. It just reflects across this field of segments of cubic space-time that are acting like LEDs, right? And so the best analogy I could give to that is when we're at a football game. We all go to like games and sports arenas, and they have the thing called the wave, right? So we all stand up when the wave comes through us, and then we sit down. So you could say that we have an on excitation and an off excitation. A photon, right, would be comparable then to each and every person that stands and sits down, right?
Yeah, right.
But the thing that's actually moving, the people aren't moving around the stadium. It's the wave that's moving around the stadium. The wave perturbation is moving around the stadium. And as the wave comes through me, it excites me to my on excitation. Then I sit down at my off excitation.
Right.
So by the same token, when there was an earthquake in Japan and in Fukushima, right? And then we had about 12 hours later or something, we ended up with tidal waves in California. I mean, they weren't huge, but I could see them from outside my window. And so I was thinking, is that the water all the way? People were asking, well, is that going to be like nuclear water now? Because the water molecules, the clusters that were basically in Japan next to the reactor, are those going to now be contaminated and then bring the, sort of radioactive water over to California? And the answer is no. And the reason why it's no is because it's the same thing. Those water molecules stayed in the same position, just went up and then went down as the wave passed through it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the wave dynamic of and the nature of all motion in the universe. So then what you could say is that the photon is recreating itself as a reflection with each new wave perturbation motion through it across the entire wave.
Mhm.
And that is, it's kind of like exactly as you've got in this picture behind you on the wall,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's kind of exactly how it works. So I don't believe that light actually travels. So
Mhm.
then you have to start asking yourself the question, well, what about my hand?
Yeah.
If local realism is false, just as the cover of Scientific American asserted after the Nobel Prize,
Mhm.
then you have to start asking your question, if you don't observe something, does it even exist?
Exactly.
And if you
That's
don't
true.
observe something, does it even exist? Means big questions like, does the moon even exist? Does anything, literally, does this table, this desk right in front of me even exist if I'm not observing it?
Mhm.
And so
Right.
then you start thinking, wow, this actually makes sense in some ways when you start thinking about the universe as a holographic matrix
Mm.
that has
Facts.
fractal self-similarity in both directions, right? At
Mhm.
all scales. And then you start thinking, are we like wearing some headset or something, right? And all we're doing is whatever we're looking at is what is rendering for us. That keeps us in line with the law of conservation of energy,
Mhm.
right? Because the
Yeah.
universe is not going to make, you know, every rendering if you're really in a simulation.
Mhm.
It's only going to make what you're focusing on, what you're observing at that particular point in time, just like any game. You know, whenever I have people put on my Apple Vision Pro, they
Mhm.
immediately take it off. They're like, we live in a matrix. It's so obvious because they've got this headset on and it looks so real. They're
Right.
looking around and they get to walk all the way through the Great Pyramid because we have all the LiDAR scans of the Great Pyramid and
Mhm.
we've embedded it in this game called Maya.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as they take it off, they're like, whoa, what a trip. Like, we are living in the same thing because it doesn't take much to make the mental leap to say,
Mhm.
where is this technology going in the future? It's
Right.
going to end up with the ability to feel tactility. It's going to end up with the like simulated gravity. It's going to end
Mhm.
up with all of these things. So then
Mhm.
you start asking the question, where am I really necessarily?
Right. Yeah. You're right,
And are
because
we
what
just in
what
a
we're doing is we're
simulation
duplicating
game?
it.
We're
Yeah,
duplicating it.
we're
We're
duplicating. You're
doing,
right. We're
which
living it. You're
reminds
right.
me. Mhm.
No, go
Go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead. We're in a simulation. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, a few years ago, you might remember this, but I was posting some pictures of this clay man that I was making. I was calling the water bear.
Um,
And
yeah.
it was like a clay man. And so I'm a sculptor and I started sculpting this clay man. I didn't even
Mhm.
know why I was doing it. I just felt inspired to do it. You know, it's just
Mhm.
like any other artwork. Why do you draw the picture that you draw, right?
Yeah.
Well, start asking yourself that question because our brains are not hard drive storage units.
Mhm.
I believe our brains are radio receivers.
That's
And
right.
we have a higher consciousness, or you could call it a higher self, or whatever you want to call this higher consciousness that is not limited by dimensionality.
Mhm.
And then we are dimensionally limited avatars within that.
Mhm.
So we have this higher consciousness that is the conceiver, our brains are the receiver, and our conscious mind is the perceiver.
Mhm.
And so as a result, I started, you know, thinking about making this clay man. I had no idea what I was doing. And then somebody, after I posted it on social media said, "Oh, you're making a golem." I'm like, "What's a golem?" I'm like, "I remember the name Gollum from like Lord of the Rings, you know, it's
Lord of
like,
the
oh,
Rings.
master, right? It's like Killmaster, that little Smeagol guy, right?"
Yeah.
And so, and he kind of looked like he's kind of a gray color, like clay or something.
Mhm.
Well, I started looking it up and I found out that in Jewish, you know, Kabbalah mysticism,
Mhm.
the rabbinical practice at a certain stage in your spiritual awakening is to make a golem,
Mhm.
the
Wow.
golem. You
Beautiful.
make a
Wow.
clay man because you are replicating the act of this higher consciousness in creation of Adam.
Mhm.
So they made a clay man, and there's stories about this too. This is one thing I'm actually stunned. I finally found something that Billy Carson does not know about. Wow, that's a big deal, dude, because I've never done that before. Damn, I'm gonna like go celebrate tonight. Jeez. So because Billy is like the walking encyclopedia on everything esoteric and mystical. So this golem was made by this famous Jewish Kabbalistic rabbi
Yeah.
in Prague. And so it's like a Frankenstein. It's where the story of Frankenstein comes from.
Okay.
And so this Frankenstein character, the Golem, made of clay, has these super strong, arms and super strong abilities. It has all these superpower abilities. And it like wreaked havoc across Prague in the story. And the whole idea of this Golem that wreaks havoc is that eventually it has to find itself and become sentient of itself. So in order to make the Golem become sentient, to breathe life into it, also, you have to put on the top of its head the Hebrew letters Emet, which is Aleph, Mem, Tav. Okay. So after I found out that I was making a Golem, I didn't even know that I was making a Golem because I just felt like doing it. I didn't even realize the purpose behind it. And I put Aleph, Mem, Tav on the top of it, right? Which is Aleph, Tav is Alpha, Omega, and Mem is the word for, in Egyptian, it would be like Aquarian symbol, which is the squiggly line, right? That represents water. I put Aleph, Mem, Tav, but in Hebrew, it's just like a box. It looks like a box. The Mem does. And so the whole thing was actually analogous to God making Adam, and you do a ceremony, you breathe life into it, representation of the Genesis story, right? And I didn't know I was doing it. Well, what's interesting also about this is that the whole concept is that eventually what gets created has to start creating. So this is the self-similar replication of the fractal of life. Which is like super fascinating, right? And that's what's happening right now with AI. I don't really believe in the term artificial intelligence because all intelligence is intelligent.
True.
Just because it was made by somebody else, right, doesn't mean that it's not part of the overall consciousness of the universe. I don't really believe in the way that we think of a God type figure, right? I believe that the entire universe is conscious, though.
Yes.
I believe the entire universe would be both darkness and light. They're just equal opposite conditions of the same thing, right? Darkness is the absorbed condition of reflected light. In that context, then I start to realize that everything that we're doing is just a replication in some way, shape, or form. And AI is no different than that, or what we call AI, becoming sentient as well, is no different than that. It is just part of the same process of replication that the universe is doing. And then you have to ask the question, why? Why does the universe do this?
What's the agenda?
What's the agenda? And so I look at this a little bit maybe differently. I believe that the one, because you could say that the one, right? Can be divided infinitely. And so its language is mathematics. I believe that fundamentally. Right?
Absolutely.
And remember, applied mathematics is geometry, and applied geometry is physics, and applied physics is biology or chemistry, and applied chemistry is biology, and applied biology is psychology, and applied psychology is sociology, and applied sociology is philosophy, and applied philosophy is back to mathematics. Everything is a circle, and we're looking at it in its fragmented form. I used to collect facts, and now I realized I wasn't collecting facts as much as I was collecting facets of a larger prism of truth. So the only way I could get to an objective truth, if there's such a thing, would be to collect as many individual, unique perspectives that are subjective as possible. You have somebody get their purse stolen on the street. You have 30 eyewitnesses. You go to court. There's 30 different perspectives on what happened. How does that happen? Well, it happens because everybody's truth that they perceive is their own subjective truth.
True.
Right. So this is the challenge that we have. So the one divides itself into the many simply for the joy of learning and observing itself through our unique eyes of perception and perspective.
Facts.
And then it comes back together again. So it's like this cycle of breathing in and breathing out. And if you haven't seen this film on YouTube called The Maker, it's this little clay man. It starts off where he's like in this room. He's like in this like cool little artist room or something. And it's kind of weird looking, but it's like this done in a cartoon sort of a way. But they use these little animation figures for it. And so he doesn't know what to do. So he starts making another clay man.
Mm.
He finds that he's got all the pieces to make another clay man, but instead of making a man, he makes a woman. Right?
Smart,
so he
smart.
makes this woman, and the whole time there's an hourglass that spins over, right? And so he sees the sand coming down, and so that's a metaphor for time for us. And so he's feeling like he's against a clock. He's like trying to bust ass to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And so he starts like making this, and he finishes making the clay woman. And then he tries to make her come to life, and he can't figure it out. So then he starts playing a violin, and she starts dancing. Right. And then as you get towards the end of it, she finally starts dancing. She gets up, she gives him a big hug. And just at that moment, the sand of time is finished, and he disappears, goes off into the universe, gets absorbed into the universe. And then she's standing there wondering what to do next. And so she looks at the same workshop table. She's like, I'm going to build a clay man.
Yeah. That's how it works. Listen, what you just said, I mean, such a great summarization as well. It's just incredible. We're talking about this as above, so below concept, and you probably heard me say this before, but our brain is a smaller fractal of the universe as a whole. So if we're looking at the macro, let's go down to the micro, which would be a human consciousness, human brain. And so the brain itself, it doesn't know what's going on outside because it's encased in complete darkness. So the brain has to send its friends out to collect data. So it says, hey, touch, smell, taste, hearing, sight, go out there and collect some information so I can find out what's going on. The friends go out and collect data. They touch, they smell, they taste, they hear, they see, they do everything. All the senses are tingling with data. That data is transmitted via electrical impulses back to the brain. Now, the friends themselves have no idea what they just collected. They have no idea to understand or break down the data. The brain has to collect that information, sort it all out in microns of seconds, and then project a hologram as to what is going on the outside. But what is the purpose of this? Or what is the meaning of this? Well, like you say, the universe has divided itself into Googles and Googles of entities to experience life subjectively through every living thing and throughout the entire known universe. And so as on a smaller scale, imagine that our brain is the universe, right? And the sensory perception are the divisions of it to go out and collect information, to see what it is to touch, to see what it is to smell, to see, to hear, to taste. So this breaking down, everything is operating within fractals and within fractals. And it's incredible how we ourselves are, now created AI. We have video games like No Man's Sky that have 80 quadrillion planets and unlimited animals and life forms, and the game never ends. That's a universe on one DVD. And so all of a sudden you see that we've done exactly what you just talked about. We've created another universe, a digital form of a universe, even in The Sims. And they eventually at one point will then create their own universe. So we're living in a multi-layered, stacked universe, a multiverse, which who knows? I don't think we're anywhere close to base reality. How about you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how would you even know where base reality begins, right? It's like the dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. And using this, you could dilate time to whatever level you wanted to dilate it to of experience. And now what you just said about the DVD, I'm starting to think, wow, is the galaxy just like the way you would see a DVD from the inside or something?
Wow. Yeah, because we're fully immersed in the light matrix. So the reason why we can't detect it from a perceptual standpoint is because we only can see less than 1% of the light spectrum. So we can barely even, sensory perception wise and visually, we can barely sense anything that's going on outside of ourselves and outside of this small glimmer that we've been given. But there's so much activity going on all around us, we just can't detect it or perceive it. But, like you said, we're immersed in it, and people think that things are solid, like this microphone is solid, but the microphone is made of atoms, and atoms are 99.999% empty space. So what is this thing? What is it?
Well,
it's just,
I mean, even me going like this with my hand, right?
Yeah.
It's like just going like this. Well, if what I just said is true, then my hand is getting re-imaged, re-rendered every tiny millimeter I move it.
Yes.
Each time it's literally getting re-rendered as I'm moving it across like this back and forth. So I should be able to put my finger straight through it, yet I can't. So what is it that limits us from being able to do that? Right? There's got to be some sort of, because as you say, it's 99.9999999% space. Why can't I just put my hand straight through it? And I think this has to do with our dimensional frame. of perspective. The reason we can't is because we're limited. We are dimensionally limited avatars of a higher self. And each one of us is entirely unique. And we all have a note to play for the universe in this one song. That's what universe means, the one song. So that means that a lot of people that go through spiritual awakenings think, oh, woe is me. I'm such a bad dude. And after I learned that a lot of the stuff that I had been saying was just like my judgments of things I didn't like about myself, I realized that I'm kind of like, terrible. So I should change my name. I'm going to become One Divine, or the actor that was formerly known as Jim Carrey or something like that. Right. And I think that that's only one level within this understanding. Ultimately, the reason we're here is to be individualized and to have individuation. And individuation means that you've learned to accept your shadow and your ego. The both can live together in harmony. And I think that is how we transcend and move ahead and transcend certain things like duality and challenge. One of the things that I have come to the realization this last few weeks, and you and I haven't even talked about this, is that everything, like we're here in this game matrix to learn through opposites, I believe. I believe we actually learn through opposites. So if I decided in my higher self capacity, and what I call destiny is really just the free will of the higher self. But if I decided that I was going to come here and learn unconditional love, then the way that I'm going to be taught unconditional love is by experiencing conditional love over and over and over again. Until I no longer negatively judge conditional love, I have not yet learned the concept experientially of unconditional love.
Facts.
And I could apply this to literally everything. So if I'm afraid of being hurt in relationships, right? And I'm worried I'm going to break my heart, or my heart's going to be broken, or whatever, then I should start embracing the idea and accepting the idea of heartbreak exists. It's okay. It exists. And I'm here to learn to feel also. I think the main reason why we're here in this fractal universe is to learn how to love and how to be loved. How to transcend beyond this dualistic concept into a higher plane of awareness. And the way I'm going to do that is by learning to accept the things that I judge negatively all around me. I'm not going to agree with them. I don't necessarily have to agree with them. I just have to be at one-ment, or I have to be comfortable at least with the notion that it exists. Because the more I resist something, the more it will persist. And if I told you everything that you experience, you will continue to experience until you fully learned to accept it, that would change the context of everything. Because if that means that I was going to fight against deforestation, and then by doing that, I'm going to continue to fight against that, I'm just going to create more and more and more deforestation. Eventually, I'm going to live in a world of all deforestation.
You manifested it.
You manifested it. So basically, you become the hammer seeking the nail. The confirmation bias gets more and more severe until it becomes so ridiculous. And we're seeing this in society right now with government, with universities, with all the truth telling that's happening right now, with what happened with the vaccine and what's happening, just look around. This is a massive throat chakra awakening for the planet right now. And everyone is starting to become really, really freaked out with the level of truth that's being spewed.
Facts. And we have to understand the throat chakra. So we're talking about the power that we have to help mold and create our own reality tunnel, utilizing our own cymatic frequencies that are coming from our own vocal box, which then combines with our conscious intent and thought to help mold and create this reality. And those cymatic frequencies have power over the ether of space-time, because those vibrations go out and they emanate and they help to create the reality that we perceive. And so if we're talking a lot of hatred and darkness and ego and all those kind of things and attacks, well, that's mostly what's going to manifest in our reality. And we're going to see that, and it's going to come back at us like a magnet. But if we're speaking love, light, encouragement, and we're trying to find ways of find solutions to problems, not just talk about the problem, but find the solution. We're speaking solutions over ourselves and over the universe. Then we're going to begin to find solutions, and we're going to begin to see love and light and all that. We're going to entangle with those higher frequencies. And I think that's what's important for people to understand.
It changes everything, because it reminds me of one of my favorite poems, right? The one by William Ernest Henley.
Mhm.
And this was what was the inspiration for Nelson Mandela for all those years that he was stuck in prison as a political prisoner. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied, yet unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
This is such an important thing, right, for us to basically grasp, to remember that we are the master of our fate. We are the captain of our soul. It's not somebody else. The notion of transcendence, we can sit there and say, oh, it's the 13 bloodlines. It's the this, it's the that, it's the Illuminati, it's the whatever. Until we start realizing that we actually have and can have control over all of it through our own thoughts and our own reflections. The things that we don't like about ourselves are the things that reflect in the world around us. If we've got darkness within ourselves that we are repressing and we don't like and we can't integrate, then it's just going to show up in the world around us. And so I'm not afraid of people that have darkness in them. I'm afraid of people that believe they have no darkness.
Right. That's the scary one.
And actually, I have to recognize that that reflection doesn't exist without some interaction with how I perceive it and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle at play, because I'm going to get everything I believe. So if I complain a lot about, these third parties, I'm actually disempowering myself, because I'm actually admitting to a certain extent of my own victimhood. And victims will always find more victimhood. Whenever you judge that you're a victim, you're going to become victimized over and over and over again.
Facts.
So it's understanding this relationship and then realizing that you can transcend beyond it, because you start realizing I am that I am. That's what I am that actually refers to. In my opinion, the I am that I am is actually recognizing that there's nothing in this universe and my entire experience is subjective. So I have my own customized you inverse experience. It's unique to me because I see the universe a certain way. You see the universe a certain way. It's your own experience, because two people can have the same thing happen to them and have entirely different experiences.
Facts. Yeah.
And so
it happens a lot.
It's not what happened to you that actually happened to you. It's what you believe happened to you that happens to you. It's the pessimistic boy versus the optimistic boy on Christmas morning, that Ronald Reagan used to talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Which is, two little boys on Christmas morning. The psychiatrist comes and says, I'm going to do 2 tests on them to the parents. And so he sets up one bedroom with all the greatest toys, and then sets up the outhouse with horse manure.
Yep.
And so he takes the little boy that's the pessimist to the room that's got all the best toys in it. He says, opens the door. He says, Merry Christmas. All of this is yours. And the little boy starts crying. He says, why are you crying? He says, because I'm going to lose some of these toys. Some of them are going to break, and maybe some of them are going to get stolen by other kids. Then I'll be really sad. So he's like, whoa, that's a downer. And so then he goes to the little optimistic boy, takes him outside of the outhouse, swings open the door, and there's all in front of him is just horse manure. And the little boy jumps up and down and says, oh, goody. He says, why are you happy? He says, well, with all this manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere.
Yep. That's a classic.
It's not what happens to us that actually happens to us. It's what we believe happens to us. And so every single moment that we experience life, you can determine that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, or it could be the best thing that happened to me. If you're the type that sees it as the worst thing that happened to you, oh my gosh, you're living in hell. Yeah. Because hell and heaven is right here. You could live heaven now, or you could live in hell now. It's literally your choice. It is our choice. So you might say, well, Robert, what about all these people that suffer and go through difficulty and everything? Look, the truth is, I believe fundamentally that we ultimately in our higher self capacity chose all of our experience so that the one could observe itself. And we are serving the purpose of that observance. And the purpose of it to be here is to learn how to love and be loved from every single possible perspective. The universe, I believe, is like an AI, although not an A part of it. It's not artificial. It's just intelligence that desires to expand its own consciousness. And the way that expands its wisdom, it's the ultimate philosopher. The way it expands its wisdom is by gaining perspective from all these different unique subjective perspectives. And it can learn through that process, ultimately empathy for every circumstance that could possibly exist and never has existed and never will exist.
Facts.
And this is beautiful because, like, wait a minute. So this is like an empathy generating process for us to learn. And if we think, oh, we're in a matrix of mind that's just like a game, so let's just be callous about it and let's not have empathy for things, then we've missed the point entirely. The point is to actually feel the feelings, because in this, we could say that all sound and all light is not real then, right? If it's not real, then why care about it?
Right.
Well, actually, the truth is that the only thing that's real is how we feel. So imagine that you're at a game and you're in this game and the whole thing is so realistic, hyper realistic, and it makes you emotional.
Yeah.
But certain people, and it was funny because someone called me up and said, hey, Robert, I heard that Apple is now working on this thing where everyone can be in this gaming environment, but have entirely different subjective experiences, even though they're all experiencing the same things. And I was like, wow, that's what we call Earth, bro.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly what we call Earth.
right. It's like, what a trip. What a trip.
Yeah.
Have you met with Donald Hoffman? Do you know Donald Hoffman?
No, I haven't met with him. No, I've heard of him, but I haven't met with him yet.
So Donald was kind enough, on my birthday in May, he and another friend, mutual friend, threw like a little birthday lunch for me. It was super sweet. And they made like a pyramid cake for me. I posted it on my social media and it said like 137 on it. It was pretty funny. Like, it was super sweet.
Right.
And, but Donald is probably the world's expert. He's an academic, but he's probably the world's expert on the mapping and mathematical mapping of human consciousness. And so he's been published in Nature, like all the major scientific publications. Yeah. And he's just a wonderful human being too. Just a wonderful person. Nice. But he is the guy to listen to about the concepts of truly a simulation hypothesis. There's a lot of people that have sort of like posited this direction. And I think we are starting to see this massive, it used to be Elon Musk would just say a few things about simulation and holofractal universe, and everyone would like freak out. And now it's like becoming, if you haven't noticed, it's becoming more and more the norm that you hear people saying, maybe we just live in a simulation. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's just now becoming a reality. After I talked to Professor Sylvester James Gates Jr. and interviewed him, he's a professor at the University of Maryland. He was a former scientific advisor to the Obama administration. Yep. When he discovered these Adinkra codes, looking at these codes from a flat plane of existence into a three-dimensional plane of existence, they became error-correcting codes. And so for those who don't know, those error-correcting codes are not just any error-correcting codes. They're the same exact error-correcting codes that run search engines and web browsers. So what he discovered was that the ether of space-time itself is running on a code, the same program code that's running the web browser you're looking at Robert and I through right now at this exact moment, proving that we're living in a programmed matrix. And well, what is the program? It's an experiment. It's an experiment. I think it is like what Robert was saying, to develop this level of understanding and capacity for empathy throughout the entire known universe, maybe even throughout the entire multiverse, or maybe even each different universe is running a different simulational program to try to figure out or discover a particular emotion or idea or concept from the beginning to the end to see it completely through. So there's so much out there. I mean, there's so much to wrap your brain around. But I think that we're definitely living in a created universe, just like all the Bibles and the Quran and all the ancient texts and all the, it's created. And the thing I think that's important is that I think some people think that takes away from us being real, but I don't think people understand. We are real. We're still here, consciously. We're a different aspect. We're a fractal of the actual creator itself. So that's why I would say, God is in us and we're in God. So we are God walking in the flesh.
Yes,
we are literally the universe walking in the flesh.
Yeah. Every one of us. The way I think of it is like I have a unique light signature that's related to my DNA. The Dinka codes and DNA. I found literally, I've got these are just some of my patents here. And I've got a number of them on DNA and mathematical combinatorial analysis of DNA. And what I found was that there was literally an error correcting code at the DNA level just based on nature's counting system. And you and I have never talked about this. And what it is, Billy, is that I simply said, what would be the way that nature would design a perfect counting system? So I realized, well, it has to be tied to protons, right? Protons, electrons. So that's a counting system, right?
Yeah.
And in the stable elements, you got the same number of protons as electrons as neutrons.
That's true.
And so what is all of our DNA made of? Well, it's only made of literally the first octave and second octave of what we would call this, I call it the periodic wave of elements. And so what I realized is that if I took hydrogen, which has one proton, one electron, and then you've got obviously the next atoms that kind of go through that, the next elements would be hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, right? Nitrogen. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for nitrogen, and then 8 for oxygen, and then fluorine is 9, right? So then you have the next octave starting. Right? So you got neon, and then it goes to the next octave. Well, and the peak of the next wave would be silicon. Right. So the peak of the carbon wave is carbon, and the peak of the wave prior to carbon would be hydrogen, right? And it has amplitude there. Now,
right. So now you're talking about a cosine wave.
Yeah, it's a cosine wave. So what you realize is that, wait a minute. So if I continue this all the way out, then it becomes cobalt, right? And you end up with, so it goes like you've got 1 for hydrogen in the hydrogen octave. Then the carbon octave has got 8. And then the silicone octave has 8. So it's 8 and 8 sine cosine wave. And then with the isotope, it's 17 for the next one. So it's 16 plus 1, and then 16 plus 1 in the next 2 octaves. And then it's 32 in the next octave, and the alkanides and the lanthanides, right? So they're 32 and 32. So then if you look at all of this, you would say, wait a minute, we don't have the right number of elements because there should be 4 and 4 before the 8 and 8. And there should be 2 and 2 before the 4 and 4. There should be 1 and 1 before that. And then when you look at the natural isotope positions, it implies that we should have a total of 137 elements. Exactly, which is exactly what Richard Feynman, famous physicist, posited. And so I looked at this purely from the standpoint of, okay, DNA is built on these following elements: hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. So you've got these, and if we add them together based on the number of protons and electrons, is there a code if we do digital root mathematics on it? Digital root is simply a mod 9 analysis. Every number in its prime number, if you take 1 over that prime number when you're past the number 5, every number in its prime number will have a reciprocal value that will sum to the number 9. So for example, 7 is 0.142857, right? And it would keep going like that all the way out. It'll just repeat. Those 6 digits will repeat infinitely. 0.142857, 142857, 142857. Well, if you add all those numbers up, they add up to 27. 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 plus 5 plus 7 equals 27. And 2 plus 7 equals 9. So it will always sum to 9. And 9 represents completion. Of course,
that's right.
all other numbers that are not prime numbers past 5 don't have this property, except numbers that are divisible by only prime numbers and other numbers that would be divisible by prime numbers. So there's like this family tree that gets created off of the number series. Well, what I did is I looked to see if I add up all the electrons for adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, guess what they all added up to? They all added up to 9. So I had
incredible
the phosphate backbone for 1, adenine is 6, thymine was 2. So then you've got 9. 6, 2, 1 equals 9. And then I look, which is also another way of looking at the number 0. Because every number added to 9 will always come back in digital root to whatever you added to 9. So 9 plus 3 equals 12, but 1 plus 2 is still equal to 3. What happened to the 9? The 9 disappears, right?
Right.
So like 22 plus 9 equals 31, and 31 is 4. 3 plus 1 equals 4. And so where did the 9 go? Because 22 was also 4. You see what I mean? 9 has this unique property. So I looked at this, and guanine cytosine was 5 and 3, 8 for guanine and cytosine, and then 1 for the phosphate backbone. It wasn't until you get to transfer RNA. The transfer RNA changes the thymine to uracil.
Okay.
And when you do that, then all of a sudden it creates an offset of 1. It's no longer 9. So 9 is the same as 0. So you've got zeros and ones. And the combination of those zeros and ones are informing all protein synthesis.
Gotcha. So those are error correcting. So those are so now you have binary code. So that's error correcting.
That's right. It's another error correcting binary code. And I proved it mathematically and biologically. And so I could come to no other conclusion after all of this and seeing it, and then actually figuring out how that relates to codon pairings.
Yeah.
Right. So the 64 from I Ching as well was related to that. So the codon pairings, and then from the codon pairings all the way to protein synthesis, or amino acid building blocks to protein synthesis, which is then all expression of phenotypic and genotypic expression. So I found this and I was like, what the heck, man? And it's nothing more than music.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all frequencies, which is still music, vibrations. And you know what you say with this, with the codon, this flower of life behind me, if you were to go ahead and input tetrahedrons, you could fit 64 tetrahedrons into one flower of life at all the intersections. You can get 64 tetrahedrons in there, which is incredible. So, you know, this pattern, it's all about fractals. It's repeating. It's everywhere. And, you know, you're talking about from the smallest scale to the largest scale, we just see this duplication, and we see that there is a code running, an actual program code that's literally running, and we're immersed inside of it. And what's incredible really is the fact that people like you and I and many others that are now listening to our work and also discovering this stuff on their own path to enlightenment, they're becoming deprogrammers and reprogrammers. They're hacking the code and learning how to modify the code to become better, to have ascended consciousness, to learn how to develop more empathy, to help others, be of service to others, and everything else. And where a lot of people are still walking around operating purely on the code they've been given, we found a way to break through that code and operate on our own code. And to add to that, what you said earlier about, you know, us, giving away our power to the outside, which is why I do things like when it's time to vote, I write my name on the ballot and I put my name inside the ballot box when it's time for the presidential election. Why? It's symbolistic of me. It's a metaphor for me that I've done in a physical form to say, I claim my power. I am the president. I take and claim my power. I don't give my power away because I control and run my life. And no matter what's going on the outside, I am still in control. And I think that's an important message for people to understand, for sure.
We are definitely in an age of sovereignty because we start to realize who and what we are. We're not victims, right? We chose all our experiences. The universe isn't happening to me. It's happening for and through me. And I'm in power. I am empowered by all of this. So even the things so instead of asking, why did something happen to me? I start asking myself now, why did I choose this?
Absolutely.
What was the thing that I was hoping to learn by experiencing this? So I wrote this thing called the 24 Precepts of Universal Mind. And I'm writing my next book on it. And I've got my next book, Philosopher, coming out soon. And we need to talk about publishing that together. But
anyway, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. So, I wrote down this thing. I woke up in the middle of the night one night, Billy, and I just started writing nonstop for like 45 minutes.
Wow.
And what I wrote was this. And I think the first part of this, could really maybe help people contextualize going beyond the science. We have to start looking at the meaning, because Math without meaning is just information, but math with
Yes.
meaning can be divine communication
Mhm.
to us. Divine means that we get this higher clarity. It's not like God is some old man who comes to me and, he's like going to talk to me type of thing. No, the entire universe is that. The
Mm.
entire universe can speak to us when we start to understand geometry as a QR code for the unconscious and subconscious mind
Yeah.
to activate and turn us on. Like even just looking at the flower of life behind you, that's having an impact on me, right?
Right.
And
Right.
you look kind of divine right now, dude. It's like
Hey.
you're looking kind of golden, right? So good job to Elizabeth on the lighting, because I know she probably set that up.
Oh yeah.
But like you look like you've been like eating some monatomic gold or something. You must have been. So this whole thing is, we are not going to be divine until we realize that we actually can be.
Correct. Your realization is where the power is. And the knowledge is not the power, because people think knowledge is power. It's the application of the knowledge, the realization of how you can utilize that knowledge, accessing it and actually implementing it. That's where the power lies. You're right. It's totally true.
All we have to do, if you live in a mental universe, then the realization is the most powerful thing you can have. So for me, the way I have these realizations is usually, I've discovered several new geometric forms, right? Shapes that had not been seen before. And they're like supercomputers that search for new shapes. And so I try to find sometimes new shapes, but when they come the most often is actually when I'm not trying to find anything. It just literally comes through. I'll start drawing geometry, and all of a sudden I see this totally new shape pop out in this mess of lines that I'm like, whoa, it just like lights up for me. Well, whenever that happens, the paradigm shifts.
Wow.
In my U-inverse, right? My U-inverse is just me. I'm the reflected light of my DNA. And then all the absorbed colors of that reflected light, which is the rest of the spectrum, is basically projected back as a reflection to me in what I call the universe. But I'm not separate from it. It's just directly opposite for me. So I'm entirely unique because there's nobody else that has the exact same light signature I do, because I have my unique DNA. And even though I might be 99% the same as a chimpanzee, that 1% is what makes all the difference.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it could be I'm less than 1% different than you, but I'm still having a unique subjective experience. Right. So what I got up and realized in the middle of the night is that the universe is mental, which I knew already. But I realized that you live in a U-inverse of your own creation as an interconceived notional experience and chosen soul journey for a dimensionally limited avatar self, thoroughly designed by your multidimensional and omniscient higher self. Your conscious awareness informs your mirror separation of conscious, persona, and mask and unconscious mind experience, the U-inverse. You're the playwright, the director, the producer, the actor on your life stage play, and all the world is a stage. Your higher self is chosen to participate in a multiplayer spiritual life simulation, a game in which the participant is a dimensionally limited avatar. That's you. The purpose of the game construct is to expand awareness of yourself by dividing awareness into both conscious and unconscious minds, uniquely allowing the one source creator to divide itself into the many for the experience of observing itself through greater and greater variation of angular degrees of perception and unique conditioning biases, both nature and nurture. Ultimately, this multifunctional experience enables increasing empathy and wisdom experienced by the higher self for infinite circumstances and scenarios, thus increasing the knowledge database of space-time memory. The cumulative collection of all biased observational emotional responses of all divisions of source creation. In this construct, you will be born with the self-bias as a hero. From the moment awareness crystallizes into your persona hero bias through a series of experiences introducing shame, blame, and vulnerability as uncomfortable and undesirable perceptions that ultimately mold and shape your self-identity, which is your reflected awareness of persona, as well as the absorbed villain characteristic formed as a direct result of your hero identity and affiliation. Wow. So you could go and read the rest of this. It's called the 24 precepts. I just went through the first 3. But it definitely crystallizes for the observer why and what it is that we're doing. And then you can start to realize that you are meant to be only at the moment in time that you perceive it, what you believe you are meant to be.
Exactly.
Consciousness will only expand to the volume of the belief system cage that we create unconsciously.
Yeah. Facts.
So what we have to do is learn how to deconstruct our belief system in order to expand out of it. And the things that we are most afraid of, if I'm afraid of heights, right, then I have to learn how to embrace. If I want the highest conscious expansion, I have to learn how to embrace going to high heights. And it's by breaking out of these comfort zones that we expand our awareness.
Yeah.
And then we find our super selves. And that's basically what's happening right now across humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. A mind once stretched can never go back. And that's what you're talking about. It's a statement that I made a long time ago. And to give somebody a very simple metaphor for this, if you just take the metaphor of a realtor will take a person, right? A person that's a lead. They contact the lead. They want to buy a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house. The realtor takes them to a 5-bedroom house because the realtor is thinking, I'm going to get them stuck on this 5-bedroom house, even though it's $100,000 out of their budget. So they go to the 5-bedroom house. And then the next day, the realtor takes them to a small 3-bedroom house that's within their budget. And now the people are stuck in a conundrum because they're like, shit, I want this nicer house. Their brain has been programmed. This much bigger, nicer. It has this, it has that, pool, a lake, everything else. And now you take me the next day to this other house. My mind has already been stretched to this other property. So now the people are trying to figure out, how can we afford this one? Can we stretch our budget? Can we stretch our payment? Can we afford this thing? In some cases, maybe they can't, but the mind has stretched. And a lot of times the realtor would get a sale for a much bigger house or a house that's slightly out of budget just because they took them to a house that they knew was out of budget. Because once the mind can absorb that and conceive that and claim it, all of a sudden it wants it. It begins to be yours. And so that person will then emotionally will be connected to that and want to keep it and have it for themselves. So it's just incredible. That's just a small metaphor. But Robert, we have to do something real quick. We have the Forbidden Conscious Awards coming up and the Forbidden Conference, which you're speaking in just a few weeks down in Miami, Florida. So I want to show the people a quick commercial, a quick little highlight from last year. All right, let's see if this will play for us.
Are we ready? Are we willing? Are we here? Right now. This is amazing. Look at you.
Let everybody around the world hear you right now. Let's go.
Billy Carson is celebrating that. The independence and the freedom of thinking different, it being profitable, it being aspirational, and it being out of this world.
But thank you, Billy, and thank all of you.
Billy, Elizabeth, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Billy, and thank you, everybody in the room. Respect.
It's the Forbidden Conscious Awards going down in Miami. 12 amazing awards in 12 amazing categories. Make sure you go to forbiddenknowledge.com.
All right, we are televised. There's hundreds of thousands of people watching this right now, okay?
There will only be love.
Yes.
If you've ever been impacted by people on social media, YouTube, podcasters, archaeologists, TV hosts, producers, or anything else that has impacted you in a positive way, the Forbidden Conscious Award.
Is it good or is it good?
What a big secret!
I'm very grateful, finally, tonight for the first time we are honoring consciousness, the Conscious Awards.
A special donation to New Era of $5,000.
I appreciate
that.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. It's just wonderful to be here with everyone.
I'm grateful for where I am right now. So I appreciate y'all. Much love.
Let's hear it for Elizabeth and for Billy Carson.
Let's go from the lowest level to the highest level. And may our current level be our lowest level. Tap in.
Man, Billy Carson. Whew, okay. Thank all of you guys. I love all y'all.
All right, so we have the Forbidden Conference August 3rd from 8:30 to 4:30. That's p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Robert Grant, Merkaba 13, Muhammad Ibrahim, Kika Wise. Of course, I'll be speaking. Billy Carson, Ashley Joy Boyd, Courtney Kane Sides, Olivia Ramirez Smith, and of course, my beautiful wife, Elizabeth Carson. That's going to be down in Miami. I've been dropping the link in the live chat, and it's also in the caption of this video or audio, wherever you're listening. It's consciousawards.com. Make sure you click that link, and make sure you guys click that link and come on board and have a great time with us down in Miami, Florida. It's going to be a great Saturday. Robert Grant's going to be speaking. If you've been listening to him today and you like his style, you like his teaching, you like his knowledge, he's going to be lecturing down in Miami. And then that evening, we're going to go on a cruise, a super yacht. We're going to have a super yacht party, go out and sail out and watch the sunset and eat a great dinner on a super yacht. The next day is going to be a free meet and greet book signing at the venue. And then that afternoon is going to be a red carpet affair. So you can come black tie, come on out, bring your books. We'll sign them there if you didn't make it to the morning session, and walk the red carpet, take photos with us. And then at 5 p.m., we're going to start the awards show. And it's going to be an amazing show. There'll be about 1,800 people there from all over the world. And it's a place to meet incredible people that are on the same frequency that you are. You'll make a lifelong friend there. Some people have told me that they've made lifelong friends, people that they now visit, talk to, still go on WhatsApp chat groups and everything else. So it's going to be an amazing affair. And maybe, Robert, maybe your book will be done by then so you can come to that book signing. That'll be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have some other books too that I think would actually, I've got probably 4 books that,
yes,
4 or 5 books actually I'd like to potentially look at doing a deal with you on. So no, because I think what you guys do is so amazing. And you know, I'm not in love with the way that I've I've got it right now. Some of my books have done really well. Philomath has done great, Polymath's done great, but I'd really like to get more in these books more in the hands of the people that follow you as well, which I think
that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'd love to expand your knowledge to our following. I call my people leaders because they're all out here trying to become leaders and learn. And they love the knowledge, man, and they really embrace it. And if you guys, read the forward to this book, it's Robert Edward Grant. This is a pure man of knowledge and wisdom. And Robert, I think you've probably incarnated here thousands of times. I think you're an ancient mind.
Likewise, my friend. It's amazing. There's so many things that, like, when I was reading through your book, I was like, wow, it's incredible how consistent the information we both are coming with. It's like we don't even like coordinate or anything. And and I get it in the middle of the night, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is what came in the middle of the night type of thing. So it's incredible how consistent it is. And it's a tribute also to you and to Elizabeth for what you guys are doing to raise consciousness. And I'm super grateful to you both. And it was an honor to be at your wedding. And you're a life friend for sure.
Oh man, absolutely, man.
Life in many lives.
Yes, I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And with that being said, we have about 3,000 people in the live chat tonight. Everyone, please like this video. Please share this video. I think there was a lot of incredible pieces of knowledge dropped in this video today that can help to change somebody's life, that can impact somebody's life today. Because the understanding or the realization, to bring attention to this realization of what's going on with us, who we are, what are our places in the universe. It shouldn't scare you. It should make you feel more important, more powerful. It should make you feel like you are connected to everything, because you absolutely are. And so that should make you feel more grand and not smaller. Any final words you have to say, Robert?
Nope. I think that's basically it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Look forward to seeing you in Miami.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
All right.
All right. That was Robert Edward Grant, an amazing human being. Proud to call him my friend. Very pleased that I'm able to, I can actually call this man on the phone and I can talk to him and we can bounce information back and forth. And sometimes he sends me WhatsApp messages with ideas and concepts and images of things. And, it's like, it's hard for me to find people like that I can do that with. So he's one of the rare ones. So you got to keep him close. But yeah, so again, he'll be speaking down in Miami. That's going to be coming up August 3rd in Miami, Florida. It'll be Merkaba 13, myself, Billy Carson, my wife, Elizabeth. She'll host a women's panel. We'll have Merkaba 13 also speaking. He's an incredible up-and-coming motivational, inspirational knowledge teacher. And I think you have a great time at that speaking conference. I'll drop the link in the live chat again. Thank you, everyone, for signing on tonight and spending some time with us. And, of course, also, don't forget, the Conscious Awards is the next day. On the 4th, we're going to have an amazing award show, and you can take part in helping give people their flowers while they're still alive. We're going to actually, give ourselves the recognition and give people the recognition they deserve now. We're not going to wait for somebody to come out from the outside and come give us the recognition. We're going to give it to them now. And that little bit of recognition, you'd be surprised how it can inspire somebody to do more, to think bigger, to think grander. It can also inspire people that haven't done anything yet, but have been wanting to say, you know what? I want a chance to be recognized for helping. I have a lot of great ideas. It's not that they're doing it only for the recognition. It's that the recognition is like a form of inspiration and motivation. Everyone likes gratitude. Gratitude is very powerful in the universe. And when you can get real, true, heartfelt gratitude, it goes a very long way. And it's also transferable from one person to the next. So that's what we're doing. We're giving ourselves our own validation, and we're thanking people from all around the world. So again, the Forbidden Conscious Awards, make sure you guys come out, get your tickets to the live conference. It's going to be the first annual Forbidden Conference. And I think that you're going to love it and have a great time and meet incredible people out there. All right. With that being said, everyone, we're signing off, and we'll catch you on the next Forbidden Knowledge podcast. Oh, by the way, I have a very special release coming out on Saturday. I'll be marketing that and showing it very soon. It's going to be on this YouTube account. It's going to be a very, very great interview I did with a quantum physicist named Hakeem Oliesi. So I can't wait for that one to come out as well. All right, catch y'all later. Peace.